So it's the 50th anniversary of Woodstock, obviously coming up. And I think some people would be surprised to know that Sha Na Na performed there. So I guess the first obvious question is, how on earth did a band like Sha Na Na get on a bill like Woodstock?
One guy did it, Jimi Hendrix. We got together at Columbia University in the 68-69 school year. We marched down to Hell's Kitchen to the Steve Paul scene, which was the hangout. After everybody would do concerts. The rock stars would go to this club. So Led Zeppelin was there, and Janis Joplin was there, and Jimi Hendrix started showing up, and he really dug what we were doing. So on the last night of this club was open, he got the Michael Lang and Artie Cornfield, the producers of Woodstock, down to see us, and we were booked that night. We got $350, the check bounced, and we got $1 to be in the movie, but that was a good dollar.
So you opened for Jimi Hendrix.
That mightn't have happened because after Sunday, when the rains came and the stage was sinking and they were worried about electrocuting artists and things like that, they went to Hendrix, whose deal was he's going to play last. They said, we want you to go on Sunday night. And Jimmy and his management team said, there were several acts who've been waiting out here all weekend and they deserve a shot. So we got our 35 minutes set just before Jimi Hendrix on Monday morning.
But you hadn't been around as a band for that long, right? What I'm trying to get at is you were a very young guy and you were a young band, a new band, and here you are playing not just the biggest music event of the year, but one of the biggest music events of all time.
Yeah.
Huge crowd waiting to see Hendrix. Like, how nervous were you? Were you nervous?
We were sort of nervous. We were exhausted. We were jittery. I mean, we had been there sleeping in the van, sleeping on the ground, bathing in the pond. We lived it like any other kid would have who had participated. So we were good. It was a little too edgy. The tempos were a little too fast, but it gave it the energy that was appropriate at the time.
Let's go to the hospital. Let's go to the hospital. Let's go to the hospital. Come on, let's go to the hospital.
Dare I say, when I was watching on YouTube the videos, particularly at the Hop of Sha Na Na, I think it actually seems kind of punk rock and actually like kind of cooler than some of the 60s stuff I saw, some of the other footage.
People have said that we inspired in part the punk rock era because, we were certainly against the grain at Woodstock.
When you were at Woodstock, did you catch any other artists? Do you have any other fond or funny memories of what took place?
I was taking some sort of mild experimental something. And so I started to get a little paranoid, and then I decided I want to be alone. I need to be alone. So I had a problem. There was 500,000 people there. Me and my bass player, we wandered up the hill, and a guy named Wandering Epps, who I don't even know really existed, couldn't tell you. But we went to the top of the hill, and I turned around, and Creedence Clearwater was singing Born on the Bayou. That's the song I remember the most, because he got me back on a groovy trip.
You mentioned the whole against the grain thing. Now, in the clips that I've seen, at least one of the clips on YouTube, you can totally see Jimi Hendrix, in the wings, grooving to, checking it out. But then they cut to scenes from the crowd, and some of the crowd people, they don't know what to think. Some of them are rocking out, some of them are into it, but there's a lot of people, they're taking, as you say, experimental stuff. They're on acid or whatever, and all of a sudden you guys come out in your leathers doing At the Hop at double speed, and they're like...
They thought they were on a bummer.
They don't look like they're bummed, but they look like they don't... They're processing. They don't know what to think. They don't look bummed, but they're definitely, like, you managed to shock them.
We won them over. I think, in general, people first saw us as very campy, which we were, but then realized that the harmonies, the music, the drumming, the bass playing, we were a pretty solid band. And we have been a solid band, and an entertainment that still holds strong.
What was Jimi Hendrix like? Did you get a chance to hang
out
with him?
I hung with him 5 or 6 times. He was very quiet and sort of shy and sort of nice. And then in juxtaposition to when he picked up the guitar.
Yeah. Obviously, there was a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll at that time. Anytime.
Really?
Yes, there was.
I missed that part.
That's sort of where I was going. Like, You had a rather squeaky clean image, and there were a lot of your peers, your Woodstock peers, who unfortunately, like Jimmy, died young, and like, how did you sidestep those?
Moderation.
Okay.
Good
advice.
I don't drink and drug now, but back in the days, 60s and through the disco era, and then I got sober about 30 odd years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't miss the hangovers.